Greetings to you, Dandavat Pranams, and all the other great saintly devotees. Thank you so much.
Haribol. Ready? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchayva Rotamam Devam Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudaya Nasta Praisha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Utamashloke Bhakti Bhagavati Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Om Gana Timira Tasya Gana Shalakaya Jakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitakam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Sam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadabhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Raghunatam Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Ansakalpatra Rudesha Vipa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hari Hari Jai Krishna Chaitanya Haribol Tagora. Okay, so we're reading the end of this chapter, the sweet, sweet chapter of deliverance of Shishapal. All of these chapters have been very deep and beautiful and wonderful, and all of the devotees that have been sharing every day, it's been just amazing, amazing nectar. So we are starting with text 47, right? So I'll do the Sanskrit of text 47. Ananda Bhari Prabhu, I know you can make us a co-host, or you can just pull it up for the devotees, please.
You are a co-host, but I can pull it up if you like.
Okay, yeah, that might be a little easier. So
Okay.
you don't have to pull up the text.
While I'm pulling it up, can you say something auspicious?
I'm gonna, while you're pulling up, I'll try to, the auspicious thing is the Sanskrit. I'll do that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Text 47. Ridriktya sadeshyabhyo sadashyabhya. Okay. Ritvigya sadeshyabhya dakshinam vipulam adat sarvan sampuja vidhivak chakre avatam ekarat. Ekarat. Okay, and the translation. Well, let's do the synonyms. Ritvigya to the priests. Sadashebhya, along with the members of the assembly. Dakshinam, great gifts in gratitude. Vipulam, abundant. Adat, he gave. Sarvan, all of them. Sampuja, properly worshiping. Vidhivat, according to scriptural injunctions. Chakre, executed. Avabritam, the purificatory bathing of the sponsor of the sacrifice and the washing of the sacrificial utensils that mark the end of a major sacrifice. Karat, the emperor Yudhishthir. Great. Okay, Srila Prabhupada's translation. Emperor Yudhishthir gave generous gifts to the sacrificial priests and the members of the assembly, properly honoring them all in the manner prescribed by the Vedas. He then took the Avrita bath. Avabrita Bath. Okay, so we'll go text by text then. Okay, text 48. Yeah. Thus, Sri Krishna, the Lord of all masters of mystic yoga, saw to the successful execution of this great sacrifice on behalf of King Yudhishthir. Afterwards, the Lord stayed with his intimate friends for a few months at their earnest request. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Although Lord Krishna is the master of all masters of yoga, such as Lord Shiva, still he was controlled by King Yudhishthir's pure love. Thus, the Lord personally saw to the successful completion of the king's sacrificial performance. And after that, he agreed to stay with his dear friends in Indraprastha for a few more months. You want to continue reading the verses, and then we'll just read the verses, and then we'll just share about something about the verses as much as we can.
Then the Lord, the son of Devaki, took the reluctant permission of the king and returned to his capital with his wives and ministers. I have already described to you in detail the history of the two residents of Vaikuntha who had to undergo repeated births in the material world because of being cursed by Brahmanas. Purified in the final Avavritya ritual, which marked the successful completion of the Rajasuya sacrifice, King Yudhishthir shone among the assembled Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, like the king of the demigods himself. The demigods, humans, and residents of intermediate heavens, all properly honored by the king, happily set off for their respective domains while singing the praises of Lord Krishna and the great sacrifice. Yeah. All were satisfied except sinful Duryodhana, the personification of the age of quarrel and the disease of the Kuru dynasty. He could not bear to see the flourishing opulence of the son of Pandu. Purport. Srila Prabhupada writes, Duryodhana by nature was very envious because of his sinful life, and he appeared in the dynasty of the Kurus as a chronic disease personified in order to destroy the whole family. Srila Sridhar Swami mentions that Duryodhana hated pure religious principles. Text 54. One who recites these activities of Lord Vishnu, including the killing of Shishupal, the deliverance of the kings, and the performance of the Rajasuya sacrifice, is freed from all sins. Thus ends the purports of the humble servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to the 10th canto, 74th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Deliverance of Shishupal at the Rajasuya Sacrifice.
Hey, Ekavira Prabhu. Yay, here we are. Okay, so yeah, these verses, this is the end, although there's never an end of Srimad Bhagavatam. It goes on and on. And however, we're looking at Yudhishthira Maharaj and his glories and the glories of the end of the Rajasuya sacrifice that gave him the opportunity to be the emperor of the whole world, although he was the emperor. And we know the story has many different intricacies. There's so many different dramas that's a part of this amazing story with Yudhishthir and Duryodhana, the Kurus, and Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is most dear to his devotees, most dear to Yudhishthira Maharaj, because Yudhishthira Maharaj is most dear to him. And so when I was thinking of this, I was kind of trying to visualize understanding this ending of this pastime and thinking about this great devotee, Yudhishthira Maharaj, how dedicated he was to Krishna. And his entire life was dedicated in service to the Lord. And some of those qualities, Srila Prabhupada explains in the Nectar of Instruction, and we're recently studying Nectar of Instruction during this Kartik month. And in the first verse of the Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada is speaking about those persons that are crow-like and those persons that are swan-like. So he explains that a pro-like person is like a materialistic person that is always speaking about materialistic fruitive activities. A crow-like person is a person that is gossiping and just not really speaking anything that will nourish their spiritual person. It's the spiritual person that's within them. And yes, and a beautiful, thank you, Bhakti Center. Yes, and a swan-like person is a person that's the opposite of a crow-like person. I was sharing that a crow-like person, we live on a farm here in Gitanagri. And so whenever we're driving, oftentimes what we see is a dead, deer, because people hit them often. And they're sometimes lying on the street for a little bit. And then as we're driving, the crows just come and just like, shoot, just, just go down into the carcass of the deer and take some parts of it. And before we can even drive past it, the crow is already gone. The crow is fast. At the same time, it's looking for something that's dead. And so Prabhupada explains that people are like that in the material world. Materialistic people are like that. And swan-like people are the total opposite. Swan-like people, they're very beautiful and very caring, like a swan. Right? You saw that picture. Very beautiful, very much wanting to be in places that are clean. They're very clean, and they make people think of some things like that are more so in the mode of goodness, the swan-like people. So as I thought about, as I meditated on those two different birds, if you will, as I thought about Yudhishthir, and in the end, Ekavira Prabhu will share a little bit about Duryodhana. And so Yudhishthir Maharaj, what made him swan-like was his qualities of being honest and just, and he had so much wisdom, and he was extremely tolerant, and he was committed to Dharma. Crows and swans are not, they're not birds of the same, yes, swans are definitely a different bird in the sense that they're kind of extinct. They're becoming extinct. I believe they're becoming extinct. Thank you for bringing that up, pulling that up. Thank you so much. And so Yudhishthira Maharaj is committed to Dharma. He was so committed to Dharma, very courageous. He knew many different languages. It says that in his life, he never told a lie, although we know that one time he had to. And he was known as a Brahmana because he was so well versed in the Sastra. He was a good fighter. He could fight so well with his spear. So there's so many beautiful qualities of this amazing devotee of the Lord. These qualities were definitely given to him by Krishna, ultimately by Krishna. However, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he embodied these qualities throughout his life by engaging in devotional service to the Lord. And so to be at the end of this exciting chapter, this very adventuresome chapter about Shishupal and this Rajasuya sacrifice, we're hearing that in this first text that 47, that Yudhishthira gave abundantly, giving gifts in gratitude. And this whole text, is this whole part of the chapter is speaking about how Yudhishthira reciprocated with the people that were a part of this Rajasuya sacrifice, that had come to the Rajasuya sacrifice. So recently here in Gitanagri, we were thinking of a way that we could connect more deeply with the devotees, because this is the whole purpose, right? Yudhishthira Maharaj is the example for us. He teaches us that there always need to be reciprocation amongst devotees, amongst the people that are doing things that are in service to the Lord. So we were also thinking, what can we do? What can we do in order to reciprocate with the devotees in the temple that so earnestly every single day offer their services to the Lord? And we thought, well, maybe we can do a gratitude ceremony, a gratitude party, a gratitude program. And so we did that. We got some gifts to give to everyone, and we invited everyone, and we had kirtan and, of course, prasadam. And then we spoke, firstly, in gratitude for Srila Prabhupada, in gratitude for Shrimati Radharani was coming, I think, around his appearance time. And we then spoke about the things we appreciated about each other. And so Yudhishthira Maharaj, because he's such a magnanimous person, he gave gifts in gratitude to the priests and the members of all the assembly. And this is what devotees do. We loving exchanges. We're always looking for ways that we can exchange in gratitude with each other. The other point that was made in this verse is that he was, because he was the sponsor of this sacrifice, and we know Krishna was there with him throughout the sacrifice, he executed the purificatory bathing ceremony. And that is very important, according to this verse. The end of this sacrifice, it was very important for Yudhishthira, for Yudhishthira Maharaj to engage in this. What is the Sanskrit word for this? Or some avivritya, that this particular bathing ceremony, this ritual of him bathing and also the washing all the utensils from the sacrifice was most important. And we see that even now when someone does initiation, my god brother, Brahma Muhurta Prabhu, he would do these initiations. And we would see that after the initiations, he was very conscientious about washing all these utensils and making sure everything was put together. And so this is this verse explaining about Yudhishthira Maharaj and how attentive he was to everyone and how attentive he was to the closure of this amazing sacrifice. In text 48, Prabhupada is speaking about Krishna being the supreme master. He's the master of mystic power. Bhima is here. Okay. And how he saw the successful Krishna. He saw the successful execution of the great sacrifice, this Rajasuya sacrifice, this horse sacrifice, and how he stayed with his friends for a few months at their request. At the request of Yudhishthira Maharaj, Krishna agreed to stay with them, with all of the Pandava family. And so in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita in 1878, we hear that Krishna is described as the supreme personality of Godhead, who is the master of all mystic power. So Krishna is telling that to Arjuna in the 18th chapter, that wherever there is Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there's Arjuna, the supreme archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. This is my opinion. And so, yes, because Yudhishthira is doing this amazing sacrifice, there's so much opulence that's a part of this sacrifice. And Krishna being the master of mystics, Krishna is there. Even I believe the mention was about Lord Shiva in that purport, in that, although Lord Krishna is the master of all masters of yoga, such as Lord Shiva, still, this is a beautiful point. Still, he was controlled by Yudhishthira's love. this love of Yudhishthir, and we hear constantly throughout all of the scriptures that Krishna is conquered by the love of the devotees. And we know this month is the most amazing month for diving deeper into this love kind of exchange, this loving exchange, where we're now every day just glorifying the Lord for the exchange with him and Mother Yashoda. And so Yudhishthira Maharaj, he had this love, this deep affection for the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the services that he offered. He was absolutely, totally dedicated to the Lord. And so this, a couple of days ago, I was reading Bhagavatam, and I was reading the first canto. And so in chapter 1, in canto 1, in the 12th chapter, and in the 6th verse, it's explained, actually, Prabhupada is explaining that Maharaj Yudhishthir was a liberated soul during the time of Lord Krishna, and how he didn't take any pleasure in his kingdom. It wasn't, he had this great kingdom, but that was not like the most important thing in his life. Like today we see, we might have, a nice house or a nice car or a nice whatever it is that we think we have. And many people, they think, my car, my house, what of all these things. Well, Yudhishthira Maharaj example is showing us that no, he wasn't in any way attached to his vast kingdom, his wonderful, beautiful, dedicated wife, to his obedient brothers, to his happy subjects in a prosperous world. He wasn't really attached to any of these things because he was attached to Krishna. He was satisfied only by rendering loving service for the satisfaction of the Lord. I thought about that verse and I was thinking, yeah, this is what it means to be a devotee, to be able to be fully surrendered, to be 100% dedicated to the service of the Lord. And this is one of the examples of a pure devotee. And we're reading in the 3rd canto of Bhagavatam about the two different kinds of devotees. And one type of a devotee is a sadhana bhakti devotee. And the other type of devotee is a devotee that is pure, is fully dedicated to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so Yudhishthira Maharaj, he exemplified this throughout his life. In that verse, the translation is, "O Brahmanas, the opulence of the king was so enchanting that the denizens of heaven aspired for it. But because he was absorbed in the service of the Lord, nothing could satisfy him except the Lord's service." Just imagine. I mean, just really like I can be still with myself and just like think, wow, Yudhishthira Maharaj, all he wanted, like Srila Prabhupada, all he wanted was to engage in Krishna's service, was to make himself available for humanity. And so Prabhupada explains that during that time, Yudhishthira Maharaj, because he was requested by Yudhishthira to stay with him, Prabhupada explains that Krishna decided to stay for 2 months, and that he, at that time, performed different kinds of activities with Arjuna. And he also, just kind of took time to be and enjoy, walk around. Prabhupada says he used to drive his chariot with Arjuna. So he just took that time to be with Yudhishthira and with everyone. And so that is also one of the qualities of a devotee. Devotees are they reciprocate with other devotees by giving their presence, by being in the association of other devotees. Devotees love to be around other devotees. So Krishna, he showed us this in this text, that because Yudhishthira didn't want him to go at all, he decided that he would stay. He stayed with them and engaged in different activities. Then not at the disappointment of Yudhishthira and everyone, he left with his wife and his ministers, his wives and minister. He left Indraprastha and went back to Dwarka. And so now Ekavira will go and he will speak about the other, but quickly, the other verses.
Really quickly.
Yeah. So we're going into the Durodanas pastime here.
You spoke about Swan.
Yeah.
So we'll speak about the Swan and pro mentality also. So of course, Vraja Lila shared about King Yudhisthira, who was the emblem of religion, and as it was expressed in one of the verses, Sridhar Swami indicated that Duryodhana represented actually hated the process of religion. And Yudhisthira, he was always in the presence of Krishna and Arjuna. And of course, in this 52nd verse, we see that all of the residents of the intermediate heavens came and they showered their blessings upon Yudhisthira during this Rajasuya sacrifice. And at the same time, it's explained that Yudhisthira's opulence even surpassed that of the heavens, because, of course, as Vraja Lila expressed in the verse in the Gita, wherever there Krishna and Arjuna, there will always be opulence, power, and morality. Of course, Yudhisthira represented this emblem of morality. And so Krishna and Arjuna were seen as the arms of King Yudhisthira. And so what was the challenge there, Duryodhana? Well, Duryodhana, of course, is explained that Duryodhana always had this enmity for not only Yudhisthira, but all of the Pandavas, and especially Bhima, because they both had this warrior-like mood and prowess. They were both trained by Lord Balaram and their arts of warfare. And so they're always engaged in different challenges throughout their youth. When they were playing, Duryodhana exemplified this envy of Bhima and Yudhisthira in their life, and he was always trying to develop or devise certain plans to cause some distress for the Pandavas, and this envy just ran so deep within Duryodhana that it ultimately led to the downfall not only of himself but of his family, the kingdom, the dynasty. And so this lesson, Duryodhana and his life, teaches us that the quality of envy and how harmful this actually can be, not only for us, but for everyone in our association, everyone that we represent, everyone that we love, everyone that we actually cherish. And there was a book that was written by our beloved Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami. It's entitled Surrender, where he actually speaks about the seeds of envy and how these different seeds can affect the life of the devotee. And you want to share some?
Yeah. He shares the envy amongst Vaishnavas, envy amongst the devotees. And he says being envious is one of the greatest anarthas because it sabotages the entire environment. Feeling envy communicates to others a subtle message of disempowerment. It implies that they should not do their service, or at best, that they do it poorly so as to avoid becoming the target of negativity. If we allow ourselves to act on these negative messages, then the result is less service to Krishna and Guru, both in terms of quality and quantity. As Vaishnavas, we should keep in mind that envy is comparable to telling another devotee, don't excel spiritually. To a devotee who is singing nice bhajans or spiritual songs in the temple, an envious person is actually saying, don't sing so beautifully for Krishna. When a pujari dresses the deities gorgeously, and an envious person sends him the message or her, don't dress Krishna so sweetly. If we become envious of someone because they cook expertly in the kitchen, we basically communicate. Don't offer Krishna such nice preparations. Offer him tasteless foods. How can a devotee think in that way? Offer Guru poor quality. Offer sadhus poor quality. Offer Krishna poor quality. When we carry an envious mentality into the environment, we support mediocrity. The envious wish upon others be whimsical and frivolous in your service. And then he just goes on to say about a real Vaishnav. So that was that. So you can comment on that. Whose mentality that was.
What?
And then
Yeah. And there, in our association, one of the challenges that we have, or not one of the challenges, but envy tends to come up even more so in association among equals or association among peers. When we associate with those who are more advanced than us, of course, we're best behavior, we're offering services. And then, of course, when we're associating with juniors, they see us in a certain light. But when we actually associate with peers, there's a tendency for that jealousy and envy to actually arise. At the same time, do it with that association. It's also a time where we can actually make the most advancement because we can be aware of the envy when it arises or the jealousy when it actually arises. So how do we just go briefly into this because we're running out of time?
Yeah.
How do we overcome this envy? There's some things that we can do in the Bhakti Chitta Maharaj, and then it's expressed in the Shastra. We should become introspective. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur emphasized this point. Become introspective, look inside. And in this introspective process, there's three basic steps there. There's awareness. You become aware of what this envy, when it comes up and arises, and analyze or contemplate when you see these envious emotions arising. And then the third step is taking some positive action. What are some of the positive actions we can take? Well, there's two things that I'll just recommend at this point in time. One is not to compare. And it's important not to compare ourselves with others because we're all different and we all have different qualities that Krishna has blessed us with in ways in which he desires to use us. And so, and then another thing about that comparison is that we never really know what's in the backdrop, what is going on. We never know the full story. We see that so many people are envied or envy popular personalities, like, for instance, actors, actresses, comedians. And I was just thinking about this morning that, two of the comedians who were arguably two of the most best comedians in the history of comedy, at least in America. In their lives, they were absolutely miserable. They had this ability to make so many people laugh. They were absolutely miserable. And they both tried to commit suicide. Richard Pryor and Robin Williams. And then even one in New York who was known very, to be a very good comedian. He was an alcoholic, drug addict, because he was so miserable. And so we never know the backstory. And on another note, in Vrindavan, there is a pastime in which Krishna is actually engaged in his loving, playful pastimes with the cowherd boys. And Madhamangal expresses to Krishna, Krishna, so many of the residents of Braj, all of Braj, they love you and you have so much enjoyment, but you know what? It's all about the peacock feather. That's what it is. It's about the peacock feather. And Krishna said, the peacock feather? He said, yes. if I had a peacock feather, then people would treat me like you, and I would be just like that, just like you. And he said, oh, okay. And so Krishna took the peacock feather out of his um, turban, and then he put it in Madhu Mangala's turban. He fixed it so nicely and made it sit up so everyone could see. And then Krishna touched Balaram and said, okay, let's go. And they ran off. And as they ran off, you could see Krishna soon disappeared. And just as he disappeared, Madhu Mangala turned and he saw this dust, this dust bowl. And it was approaching him so quickly, and it approached him, and then it went right by him, and it went by him so fast. It was so strong that it knocked Madhu Mangala off his feet. And Madhu Mangala looked, and then all of a sudden, that dust turned around and started coming back at him. He could see, he got a glimpse. It was actually a demon, one of the demons of Braj. Mm-hmm. And then he took off running towards Krishna. Once he got to Krishna, he approached Krishna, and he had his hands on his waist. And Krishna said, oh, Madhu Mangala? And then Madhu Mangala said, he couldn't speak. And Krishna asked him, he said, how was that peacock feather working out for you? And Madhu Mangala just grabbed the peacock feather, he just threw it down on the ground. Yes, Krishna was the enjoyer, is the enjoyer in Braj, but also in his manifest pastimes. He also has to deal with the many different demons that come and try to always attack him and the cowherd boy. So we never know the full story.
So we're going to stop here as a reminder that all of us as devotees, especially this month, we're aspiring to be swan-like devotees in this month and exemplify Yudhishthira Maharaj's qualities, character, so we can have that same kind of love to engage in devotional service to the Lord and not have any other desire but engaging in that sweet, loving service, especially during this month. Nitai Gaura Haribol, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Vraja Lila. Thank you, Ekavira. Thank you. Wonderful class. Thank you. Okay, dear devotees, you heard it. Be a swan or at least a peacock for Krishna.
The peacocks are beautiful, but I tell you, you come to Gitanagara and you see the other side of the peacocks.
All right. Yeah, like you said, there's backdrop everywhere. Yeah. Krishna Kumari has her hand up.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So nice to be with you. I was reading with some friends last night, the Digdarshini by Sanatana Goswami, which is like a commentary on the Damodar Astakam. And I was thinking of this peacock feather. There, it's quoted in the third canto of the Bhagavatam that Sri Krishna's body is so enchanting that it even astonishes himself. That beauty represents the supreme zenith of great opulence, so much so that he is actually the ornament of his ornaments. So yeah, he is the ornaments of his ornaments. Just like it's not, it's not the peacock feather. He's actually making the peacock feather special. And then I had a question, and Namras is on here too. Like the first verse you read was talking about these, the paraphernalia for the worship, for the puja, and also in this commentary, here Sanatan is like, he's describing that the earrings are actually kissing. I'll read it here. Yet another meaning of Lasat Kundalam is due to the Maha Sabhagya, or great fortune of the person of personally kissing his divine cheeks. These earrings have attained a position of super excellence above all other ornaments. And this super excellence also indicates the fortune of the other ornaments adorning his various limbs. So we were wondering, like these ornaments, are they like an expansion of Krishna, or do they have personality? Yeah, that's my question.
Well, and maybe that's above our spiritual pay grade. However, on a very neophyte level, we do understand that any of Krishna's paraphernalia is personal and very personal, and all of his paraphernalia are interacting in some way, and we can learn something from all of his paraphernalia, all of his different paraphernalia. So that's as best as I can share, Ekavira. And then we have some other devotees here. So actually, Jamuna Jai is here. I want to thank Jamuna Jai for her class. The last time when she gave class, it was just so sweet. Thank you. And I was like, oh, is this the Naam Ras, our hero? The one that is so gloriously serve the devotees. Yeah, so thank you for being here, Prabhu.
Yeah, we understand that all of the paraphernalia, the expansions of Lord Balaram himself. And as you read in that the text, the earrings were kissing his face, the flowers from Mother Yashoda, they fall out of her hair and offer obeisances to Mother Yashoda. So these they're conscious entities. Everything is alive. Everyone is a person there in Vrindavan. Yes.
Ekavira Prabhu provided valuable Shastra backup to what Vraja Lila said. Thank you. Okay, Temple Room, Janitai maybe has a comment.
I was also wondering if Jeffrey can comment on that swan that he was mentioning if you would share something about the swan.
Yeah.
Terrible. I was just listening to you, and I recognized the reference, and so I quickly searched it up and found the purport that Prabhupada spoke about the crows and the swans and Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, fifth chapter, 10th verse purport. And I can quickly read through it, but he says that crows and swans are not birds of the same feather because of their different mental attitudes. The fruit of workers or passionate men are compared to crows, whereas all perfect saintly persons are compared to swans. The crows take pleasure in a place where garbage is thrown out, just as passionate fruit of workers take pleasure in wine and women in places for gross sense pleasure. The swans do not take pleasure in the places where crows are assembled for conferences and meetings. They are instead seen in the atmosphere of natural scenic beauty, where there are transparent reservoirs of water nicely decorated with stems of lotus flowers and variegated colors of the natural beauty. This is the difference between the two classes of birds. And it's very interesting to me because there is in ancient theological religious thought, there is always this separation of animals, mostly for food safety reasons. And you'll see in ancient Jewish texts that they have the same distinction, and there is ongoing debate about whether waterfowl like swans are clean, quote unquote, or unclean. And it really is fascinating because it digs into very specific items like how their biology actually works. And so it's a fascinating topic for me. It's apropos to Krishna consciousness movement because there's a large focus on food restriction, just like there is in the Jewish religion. And a lot of it is very interesting when you dig into it because it does have a lot to do with safety and cleanliness of diet, so much as observation of kind of material surface. Swans are clean looking and they're beautiful, and crows are sometimes kind of gross. And that's all very surface. And to your point about you never know the backstory, the question that I have is, it's all well and good to say crows are dirty and swans are clean, or, be like a swan or not like a crow. But in actuality, biologically, are swans actually clean? Are crows actually clean, dirty? Is one cleaner than the other? I don't know the answer to that, but it just makes me think, like, sometimes there can be superficial descriptions of things in Shastra as well.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Maybe we can come back and share a little about that from Hari Prasad Prabhu. Hari
Thank
Hari.
you. Thank you. After darshan, please stick around. Don't leave.
Jai. Thank you
cameras,
for
please.
sharing, Prabhu.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much.
You're all swans. You're all clean, cleansed by the Bhagavatam. Turn on your cameras.
Shri Shri Radha Mulira Gaurachandran Bhagavan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Okay, back to our animals. Vraja Lila, please. Ekavira, Prabhu. Are some animals cleaner than the other? Is that a valid comparison?
Well, in this context, we want to quote what Prabhupada said. And Srila Prabhupada, he's one commentator, right? I was sharing Hi Prashad Prabhu. I love when he says, when we look at any principle from the scriptures, it's always nice to explore it from different acharyas. However, from for the devotees in ISKCON, we look at Prabhupada, right? That's our acharya. That's who we look to see. Well, what did Prabhupada say? And of course, it can be understood in different ways. There's basic principles that Srila Prabhupada will speak about one way, and that other acharyas will speak about in a different way. So in the Nectar of Instruction, it's explained that swans, as you were saying, Jeffrey Prabhu, that they're clean, they live in lotuses, like they're described as being clean. When you made that statement about which, is one dirty, is one clean, I was thinking of Duryodhana and how we often portray him as being, this, like today we're talking about that quality of being envious. At the same time, Duryodhana had some really good qualities, right? At least one good quality was that revered friendship he had with Karna. And so, yes, it's important to see things from different perspectives. However, in this case, Prabhupada does say that swans clean and crows are, I don't think he used the word dirty, but he says they reach out for dirty things, for dead things specifically, dead things. And he's just using that as an example to help us understand a materialistic point of view, right? And Rupa Goswami, when he's speaking in the Nectar of Instruction about the devotees that are swan-like, he explains from a place of looking at the impersonalists and the Mayavadis, actually Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He speaks from that perspective of devotees being, of seeing from an impersonalist or a Mayavadi point of view. And he explains, Rupa Goswami explains that way, that mentality of thinking is like a crow-like mentality, the mentality of the impersonalists, the mentality of the Mayavads. And so we can, at least in Ekavira Prabhu, you want to share anything more about this?
You hear the essence. From a material perspective, of course, the difference of two birds, they have different habitats. Crows, as you shared and Prabhupada expressed, them off of primarily dead things. Swans, they live on the ponds, lakes, waters. Crows rarely bathe. Swans constantly bathe. Crows, as we said, eat dead things. Swans are primarily herbivores. They do eat small fish also, but that's some difference in the two.
I think for our perspective as aspiring, at least from my perspective as an aspiring sadhaka, is to understand the mentality of materialistic persons, impersonalists and Mayavads, and how the crow is used in that sense. And the swan is used in the sense of a person that is a pure devotee of the Lord. So that's as best as we can.
Yeah, swans can separate when they're drinking from a dirty place. Maybe they can separate and drink just the pure substance. They can do that biologically. And I know, but we're not judging crows either. There was one animal in Ramayana, Jitayu. He was a vulture, and vultures, they reach out for dead substance too. But look at his devotion, right? There's all kinds of examples.
As he was in service to the Lord. Yeah, absolutely. That, I think the key, as you're saying, Prabhu, is service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that's Yudhishthir, and Duryodhana was opposite. I see Bhima. He's got his hand up.
Yeah, he's the ultimate knower of the animals.
Okay.
Haribol. I was just going to say, as you guys were talking about crows, I have 3 crows that have been here over the land. They go into the tall Canadian spruces. They're about 120 feet up. They perch and then they fly over the land, all three of them together, and they talk to each other. And as we all know, if anybody's paid attention to anything on crows and how intelligent they are, they can use tools. And they speak. So I see the crows and I see that they have a consciousness that's different than the other birds. We have hawks, chicken hawks. We have vultures. We have turkey vultures, etc. And we had an eagle. We had an eagle like a couple months ago, right in the backyard. And it was just beautiful. And what's really wild about all that is that amongst birds, there is, take it from personal experience, a difference in their consciousness. They just have a whole drama that they're playing out in whatever mode. The crows are really intelligent, passionate, and but they're also they're straight, always looking for trouble around here. So it is really wild. It reminds us of Krishna in this wonderful creation, that he's created modes even for the birds. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bhima Prabhu. Good to hear your voice.
There's one song by Ramones. She talks to birds. She talks to rainbows. So I'm thinking of Bhima Prabhu. He talks to crows. He talks to rainbows. I'll send you the link, Bhima Prabhu.
I don't know how to talk to them, but they do talk to me, and I've been listening lately.
Yeah, Samadarshana, they think you're a hawk.
I think they think I'm in the way of all the goodies that are thrown throughout this farm. Yeah. What a wonderful class. What a wonderful subject matter we're on now, the birds. If that wasn't enough to convince us.
Yeah. Do you have a Chitaka bird on your farm, Bhima Prabhu? The one that drinks from the cloud and never goes down?
We have owls. They're awake at night and they drink from the moon, the light of the moon. That's what they use. They drink it through their eyes and they see the smallest things in the darkest of night. And then they swoop down silently because Krishna, in his wondrous design, had created the owl's wings not to break through the air. It's sort of like a feather duster. You can't hear the owl fly. So I just thought I'd share that wonderful. It's sort of like you, Ananda Bihari. You're like the owl nobody hears, who's flying here and there throughout New York City. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, speaking of owls, we have one devotee who is awake at night. That's Adipurusha Prabhu. Is that true,
Yes.
Adipurusha Prabhu? You learn it from owls? How to serve Krishna at night? Nice. Yeah. Okay.
Would Adipurusha Prabhu want to comment on anything?
Yeah.
His
What's
voice?
your devotional animal, Adipurusha Prabhu? What's the animal you take inspiration from? Unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay. And wonderful. That's so nice to hear you guys. And we're talking about this splendid sacrifice. The material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So here they have these parades. You know, they have this St. Patty's Day parade and the gay parade and the Italian Day parade. And they have these gigantic Super Bowl and college football games with the marching bands. It's a perverted reflection of the Rajasuriya sacrifice that doesn't glorify any. I remember being a kid watching a parade thinking, well, what's the point? What are they doing? What is all this? A lot of, pretty girls and music and everything, but what does it mean? What's it for? It's just pointless. So we have a different kind of a sacrifice that points to Krishna and inspires people to glorify the Lord and serve the Lord and have faith. So much better. And we're talking about pastimes, that Krishna's pastimes are activities, and they're sort of like a play. And it's not really, it's like, I remember one pastime on the farm, because I used to work in the barn taking care of the cows, and there was a devotee named Uttamoja. Does anybody remember Uttamoja? Great big guy. Rah, rah. He looked like a gnarly kind of. Remember him, Das? Yeah. So every morning, there was the kindergarten out behind the barn. There was a pasture, and there's a little grove of trees, and all these kindergarten kids would be there. So every morning, Mother Mani Kumari would come marching through the barn with these children, and they're all like 5 and 6 years old, cute little children. And every morning, Uttamoja would be there in the barn, and he'd go, children, I'm going to eat all these children. It was every day the same pastime, and he would go charging toward the children like he was going to eat them. And then Mother Mani would go, chant, children, chant. And all these little children go, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna. And they would chant, no, stop chanting that holy name. No, don't chant Hare Krishna. And they would chase him down the barn. It was kind of funny to see that happening every day, but, it was kind of like a pastime. Children weren't really in danger of being eaten, but it was fun. Anyway, so Krishna's pastimes are like that, but they're transcendentally sweet, and they help us to relish how wonderful is Krishna. Glory to Prabhupada.
Yeah, thank you so much. Vraja Lila, Ekavira Prabhu's, any final instructions for us for today, please?
We want to beg to all of you to kindly pray for us that we can somehow or other stay in the mercy of Srimati Radharani, Lord Krishna, Mother Yashoda. They can bless us to stay engaged in devotional service. Please pray for us.
You already have the complete blessings of your wonderful spiritual master and the entire Sampradaya.
Can you guys throw some of that over here? Since you guys are throwing that stuff around, I need some diversion over here. Come on.
Well, that Vraja Lila can throw it because she's the swan-like personality in our relationship. Another perspective.
Mr. Wade, put the mood for somebody.
Okay, thank you very much. Granta
Thank you very much.
Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada and the entire Sampradaya Ki Jai.
We're praying for all of you. We're praying for all of you.
Thank you. Thank you. Vraja Lila.
Sorry, Prabhu.
I just wanted to chant your name.
Happy Kartik. Hari Hari.
Happy Kartik. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
You better pray for me.
Bhima Prabhu. Hari Hari.